it's almost as if, when you have a magnet and you pull the magnet towards it, another magnet towards it, and you feel it pull.
Yeah.
You're swiping past it.
Sure.
And it almost feels like you've got a curvature to it. You just keep swiping around. That gravity and time and beyond that warp us.
Yeah.
That it is round to our perspective. It is a sphere, but blown into this other realm of higher consciousness. It actually expands out and flat.
I liked that Pitbull concert. It was pretty good.
Welcome back to the FoundryCast. I am Cyrus.
And I'm Zach.
And this is episode 17.
Yeah, it is.
I like that we're keeping track of the numbers. I don't know, it feels sequentially like we're getting better or we're getting more on point. I don't want to say on brand because that sounds too corporate-y, but
we are pretty corporate.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're coming to you live from the penthouse suite of our corporate offices in downtown Sri Lanka.
I got a call from the Vanderbilts.
It's not a city, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Sri Lanka's a city?
No, it's an island, I'm sorry.
It's way in the South Pacific.
Yeah. No, it's off the coast of India. It's not South Pacific. That's the North Pacific. North Indian Ocean.
Oh, yes, you're right.
In fact. Sorry, I'm just thinking back to In Search Of, and it was whenever on In Search Of they would interview Arthur C. Clarke. It was when he lived in Sri Lanka, and he'd be like, "We visited Arthur C. Clarke in his bungalow in Sri Lanka."
Well, for us, it's been a pretty busy month of getting some stuff organized. The website is plodding along. I've got a couple blogs up, some long blogs, but they were a ton of fun to write.
Yeah.
And they were fun to reread. Like, it was one of those where I re-edited and I was like, oh, okay, that was alright, because it was part historical and part personal with the different building blocks that I had played with growing up. The one in particular, and then the Harry Potter one. I think it's interesting to see how people get into things the first time that you remember seeing Transformers or He-Man, or especially if you have a unique story, because I hated... Or at least I didn't get Harry Potter at first. I thought it was for kids.
You and I were both too old to really.
I think so. We just missed the boat.
Good age,
but then it caught up to us.
Right.
Well, for me in particular, anyways,
it did.
It eventually caught up, where I could go back and I could appreciate what had been done, and then carry on through the series.
Yeah, I agree.
But a lot more on our plate. I would say going ahead for the next month, and I guess we could go ahead and do a big announcement.
Yeah, let's start the episode with the first of a couple of scheduled announcements. The other one's going to be later on at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. But for now, we're going to announce our theme for the month, right?
Yeah, so last month was
Building Block Month.
Building Block Month, right, which was a lot of fun. I think it gave us some ideas, and it allowed us to maybe reach out to the community in some ways that get to know us a little better.
And we played some Minecraft, which was fun.
Oh gosh, that was fun. We had some very interesting nights.
Yeah.
We had some trolls. We had some successes. A couple of deaths, mostly my deaths.
Occasional.
But we found diamonds and emeralds, and we found NPC village after NPC village.
Yep.
But to keep momentum going, we thought that we would make this month Board Game Month.
Yep.
Something that's near and dear to both our hearts.
Yeah, Tabletop Month?
Tabletop Board
Game Month. Let's call it Board Game Month. I think I'd prefer to use that verbiage, you're right.
Tabletop's a little more about role-playing games, I feel, but...
It could be, a little bit too expansive. Board Game Month, which is, like you said, a topic that's near and dear to both of us. Loved board games since I was a little kid. Got a decent collection in my closet of some vintage stuff. I'm trying to start collecting newer ones as well as I have the money and the time. I know you just got a new game that you backed on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I have actually brought it with me. Here we go. So 5 Minute Dungeon.
Yeah.
This I'm super thrilled about because it's one of the few Kickstarters that I backed where I saw it and thought, I'm getting more than my money's worth. And it seems like a deceptively easy game to play that a lot of people can have fun with.
Well, the name like 5 Minute Dungeon, I'm assuming it's going to be fairly straightforward and easy.
Well,
because it kind of needs to be 5 minutes long.
But you and I think it's up to 5. It's 5 players total. Have to compete in 5-layer dungeon battles.
Yeah.
You're all working together, so it's not really against each other, but there are some elements there. Between all the characters you could play, the cards are double-sided, so you can choose which one you want to play. The Huntress, or, on the back...
Ranger.
Ranger.
Nice.
We have the Sorceress, or on the back, the Wizard. The Paladin, or on the back, the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
The Ninja, or the Thief.
Alright.
The Barbarian, or the Gladiator.
Oh, nice.
One of the things I gotta say that maybe as a kid I would not have noticed, I love the spread of gender. Because the Ninja's female, the Huntress, we got Valkyrie.
Yeah, it's almost every single panel is boy and girl front and back, except for it looks like the Gladiator Barbarian. But the Gladiator does look somewhat feminine.
He's just prissy.
Yeah,
but they're the green one.
Yeah,
yeah, Huntress, and the other side was what?
Ranger.
Ranger, but is that? That's a guy?
I think it's an elf.
Oh, yeah.
It has long hair but pointy ears.
I thought it was two women.
Elves often are confused for... Anyway.
So there are cards that you lay down, and I'll only show the top one, which is Baby Barbarian. And
is that your opponent?
This is the final opponent.
I see.
So there are cards sitting on top of it that are the smaller obstacles that we all have to put elements down, use our abilities to complete. Then we remove that card and we see what the Baby Barbarian has to offer to defeat. It comes with an instruction booklet, cards, comes with a Baby Barbarian plastic this toy just for funsies.
Yeah, that's nice.
Looks like they have room for maybe expansion cards at some point.
Yeah.
And then there's a timer. You get an app for your phone.
Right on.
And they just added the movie guy. The guy who does movie things now, they got him to 5 minutes remaining.
Do the voice of the app?
Yeah. So, I think it's perfect timing with that game that we want to do for a video.
Yes.
And also, April 29th, I think it is?
I believe so, is International Board Game Day. At least according to Geek and Sundry. I think they're the ones who are like doing the push to do it.
They started it. It was a very big deal in California about 2 years ago. They made it bigger last year, and it's just continuing to gain momentum as Geek and Sundry are growing due to Critical Role, due to a couple other things that they've made. It's very exciting because
I'm looking forward to celebrating that. I know we've got excitement here locally here in our town of Asheville. We have a new board game bar that just opened, and honestly I don't remember if we mentioned it in previous podcasts or not. But we're going to try and go and visit them and check that out here over Board Game Month as well.
And I'm sure they're going to be celebrating International Board Game Month.
I have no doubt. But yeah, tell you what, if you'd like to, we'll move on to the news.
Yeah, what else is going on in the news? Because I saw a few things, but you always tend to find stuff.
I've only got a few little notes that I'll bring up because partially we're recording this at the start of April. And the big pain in the behind when you're looking at news right now is we just had April Fool's Day.
We sure did.
And there is no holiday I hate more than April Fool's Day because of all the crap that comes out. Pardon my C word there.
Well, interestingly enough, I got a little bit trolled on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
And it was a Minecraft thing.
Oh?
But it turned out to be true.
Oh, yeah?
It had to do with the new snapshot where there are parrots, there are colored beds, I think.
Okay.
And they had just updated a few things, and everyone thought, no, this is... A lot of companies like Blizzard do put stuff out on April Fool's Day that they end up implementing just a couple months later because they had meant to.
Yeah.
It's a trick. No, but it's not a trick. It was just a teaser. So I think we might be seeing an evolution of April Fool's Day.
That I appreciate. And Blizzard, you're right, Blizzard's always done that. I love it that their April Fool's is never... They never try and trick you.
It's mean.
It's a performance. It's like, here's our big release for April Fool's, which is always fun.
Yeah.
It's never, StarCraft 4,
our
got
new,
you.
Yeah, it's never mean-spirited. When they said that they were bringing out Wisps as a next playable character, I thought, okay.
It's always clear that it's a joke.
Yeah, take it to Mickey and I dig it.
Yeah. So anyway... like I said, it was kind of hard looking for too many things, although actually I do have a couple things on my news list that are derivative of April Fools, but I thought that they were of note.
Sure.
First of all, something throwaway that's dumb, but it just made me chuckle. On April 1st, it's obviously fake, but they announced a Zoolander RPG, which I just really want to play that now.
That could be an incredible amount of fun. As long as the rules are simple.
Everybody's charisma is through the roof, and everybody's wisdom is like 1 or 2. It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But more importantly, another April Fool's thing was the quote-unquote announcement of the merging of 2 comic strips. First of all, Bloom County, which I've never been a big fan of that comic.
I think I read something about this.
But more importantly, they quote-unquote merged it with Calvin and Hobbes. Mm-hmm. And Bill Waterston actually worked with the guy who does Bloom County and made a strip and put it in the New York Times.
Bill Waterston. I love him.
It was really cool to see just because, I grew up with Calvin and Hobbes, and it's so important to my identity as a person to see a new Calvin and Hobbes thing done. It was a lot of fun. Did you see the comic?
I think I saw the art of it, but I didn't read the comic all the way through.
It's a cute little comic. The weird thing about it is that the art of Calvin is different. He's evolved as an artist.
Oh, okay.
And the expressions are different than they used to be. It's not so different that it looks like a different character, but it's really interesting to see.
You can go back to even early Dilbert and see how
much it's changed.
It's very simple, but just little tweaks here and there that just become iconic in your mind.
To see Waterston, who hasn't put anything, hasn't put much of anything. He's done a couple little things, but it really hasn't put anything out for 20 years or 30 years, however long it's been. Just this sudden leap with a new comic was really interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other bits of news. Mad Cats is shutting down.
What?
Mad Cats?
Seriously?
They make
Mad Libs and...
No. Mad Cats. They make joysticks and controllers and things.
I've got a ton of
we all do. Yeah, they're shutting down their doors. They're not going to make it. I didn't look into the article to see why, but I'm assuming it's just the way the market's going.
I think it's hard to compete in the market the way it is now.
I know, in the home console market, there's not a lot of knockoff PS4 controllers because they're so complex now.
Sure.
You can't make knockoffs. And the PC side of things, most peripherals these days are on the high end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. They're really nice, expensive stuff, like Razer and some of those other companies that make the really high-end, high-performance, really pretty stuff.
Yes.
Gaming keyboards and stuff like that. So.
Well, do you think part of it also has to do with the common gamer being online? Because you and I growing up, technology-based, but we didn't have the internet, so when my Nintendo 64 controller broke, I'm just going to GameStop, or I'm going to the whatever game shop up the street. Yeah. I'm not going online, going to Amazon and looking up a original controller and having it shipped to me for free because I have Amazon Prime.
Right.
Instead, you're just getting one up the street. And if the person who's behind the counter tells me, this Mad Catz is just as good as that one, save you some money, he's building a customer relationship with me as opposed to the bottom line. Yeah. So I think that's phasing out a little bit, and maybe Mad Catz having trouble competing in that space.
It's a good point, yeah. Technology like that has changed the way a lot of companies do business.
Sure.
So, that could definitely be part of it. And actually, to that end, another gaming business news, GameStop has announced they're closing. This was a little while ago, I think a week or two ago.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd bring it up this week. They're announcing they're closing 100 stores across the country, which is a pretty substantial... they still have a lot of stores, obviously, but...
Now, if you spread it out across the entire country, if we're including Hawaii and Alaska, they're closing two stores per state.
Sure.
But that's not really what it ends up being. It means... they're closing 10 stores in Florida.
Right, exactly.
And 4 stores in North Carolina.
Underperforming markets. It's interesting. I know that they're struggling as a business. And for me, it kind of makes me happy because the way that they've taken their business over the past really 20 years has been really insulting as a gamer. They've gone away from new releases and being about games and peripherals towards being a pawn shop, basically, where they encourage resales and...
Yes, that is what they encourage more.
They don't they only get enough stock in to get your pre-orders filled. So if you don't pre-order with them and pay the extra money and get the stupid subscription to their crap, then you don't get your Switch. You don't get, and then people like me who didn't pre-order a Switch, I've got to wait 3 months to get one because they only order enough to fill. So it's their business model is just purely about trying to squeeze nickel and dimes out.
And normally when you say that, it just sounds, not you, but someone said, oh, they're squeezing every nickel and dime. It sounds like we ourselves are being pompous and making a judgment on them with a very stereotypical claim. But in reality, they are trying to squeeze every penny.
Genuinely are.
And part of that has to do with the resale market.
Right.
They want you to buy brand new games, but they have such a high turnaround on used games.
Oh yeah, they make nothing off of new games. They make almost 100% profit off of used games.
Exactly. And a lot of the staff have come out, and you could do hours worth of entertaining YouTube watching about people complaining about what sales goals they had to meet.
They're ridiculous.
And it was almost like, I don't even want to sell new games. I only sell used games.
Yeah, that's another reason to hate them. They're awful to their employees. Absolutely awful.
Yeah. And I hate to say that about a company that I've put a lot of money in.
Sure.
I used to be a Game Informer subscriber. And I still have to go there from time to time to get some things. And some of the local stores here in Asheville, the staff are awesome.
Yeah.
The one over near Asheville Regional Airport, the team who work there are fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of the people that work in GameStop are people, they're gamers, and they work there because they love games.
And they don't bug me. When you walk in, they say, if you need help find anything, let us know. Anything I can help you find. And if you say no, they leave you alone until you look like you're lost, which is usually me after about 8 minutes. And then I do need some help. But I hate it for the staff because some of those people grew up loving games, and they may even been with that company for 15 years now.
They're losing their job because the store is closing.
Losing their job because...
Yeah, because they've screwed up their business model. But also, I think it goes back to what we were talking about. It's partially Amazon sales, Steam. I mean, I don't remember the last time I bought a physical copy of a game. I buy my games online.
I know the last time I bought a physical copy of a game, and it was Super Meat Boy, the Deluxe Edition, because I have a connection to that game. And I got to play it in development.
You wanted a physical copy. Yeah. The last physical copy of a game I bought was Grand Theft Auto 5 for my PS4. When I got my PS4, I got that. I just got a new physical copy of the game, but it was given to me, so I didn't actually purchase it.
No, I mean the last time I bought a PC game.
Yeah.
I've bought a couple games, and I've got them from GameStop. I got some used games. Got some of the Lego games for fairly cheap for the Wii U, and a ton of fun. Yeah. And I appreciate being able to go to a place that has that pawn shop mentality, but they don't carry games from older systems anymore.
That's what I was going to say. I remember very fondly going to Babbage's in the mall here, which got bought up by GameStop, and they would have a bin right in the front of the shop that were used Genesis games. I had my copy of Toe Jam Earl was from the bin at Babbage's, like $5 for, and it was before the time of retro collecting, so they were all cheap. But they don't do that kind of stuff anymore. It's all, you go into a GameStop today, and it's just a wall of Madden 16s.
What was the name of that shop we went to when we did the retro game arcade?
Orbit.
I think it was like Orbit DVD, Orbit Games.
Yeah, Orbit Video or whatever they do.
They were awesome. Of course, they had tons of comic books, but towards the front they had all these used toys.
Yep.
And so many games, and they had some prices that were semi-competitive with eBay. They probably just went on eBay and saw what the game runs for.
Honestly, the low side of eBay.
Some of them really were.
It was. I mean, they had new PS1s for $10, I think, or something.
Yeah. So I would much rather go and patronize their establishment. I stand out front and go, loo, just very patronizing.
Sure.
And I patronize their business. Then go to GameStop, where I know that what I'm spending is not benefiting the person who runs it. Chet, Gamer Muzz, who runs Level 1 Games in Hilliard, Ohio, he ran his store out of not a pawn shop, a flea market for a couple years until he had made enough money. And he just traded like a couple games and built and built and built. He does he takes in trades to build this stock. And people know, you want a game, he's the guy to go to. You want a peripheral, he's the guy to go to. He buys old systems, cleans them up, fixes them up. Sometimes he repaints them if he's got the time. He doesn't do as much anymore because he works like 70 hours a week. I will go to him I would drive to him in Ohio if I had a choice, as opposed to spending the same amount at GameStop.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So I hate to see the stores go because we need more stores like that.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that it'll give rise to more room in the market for those local shops because that's where the market, I think, is going for physical games. More and more these days, new games are not physically sold anymore, and old games are. So yeah.
Quick bit of news.
Yeah.
When you go to McDonald's and you want to dunk your nugget in a sauce.
Yes.
Did you see this?
I heard about this.
With the release of the live-action Mulan movie, McDonald's is re-releasing their Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, and it's supposedly due to pressure from Rick and Morty fans.
It's exactly where it came from.
I love that.
Of course, they're going to say that it was something already in the works.
Right.
Yeah, McDonald's couldn't care less. But how smart, because now I wouldn't go to McDonald's for nothing. But you're telling me I can get this sauce
Some
again?
Szechuan sauce?
I don't remember having it before.
Yeah, I'm sure it was awful, but you're going to go and get 20 nuggets so you can dip it in there.
I sure as heck am now.
Me too. Maybe we should do that for the next podcast. Well, it's not going to be out for a while, but maybe when it comes out.
We'll do that for a podcast. We'll do a review of Szechuan sauce.
We'll do a Nuggets cast one night.
The Nugget cast.
And how about this news? I honestly thought this was an April Fool's joke when I saw it. Turns out it's faux real.
Faux real?
A nerd movie announcement. So there is going to be a live action, and they're saying standalone Batgirl movie.
Yeah, I don't know about
this. Guess who the new director is?
Whedon.
Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon's going to direct a DC movie, the Batgirl movie.
He could do it. Joss Whedon knows femme fatales.
Sure.
He knows ingenues. Mm-hmm. He knows them very well.
Yep.
I wouldn't doubt that he could not masterfully make it work. Mm-hmm. But he'd be working with DC, and there would be rewrite after edit after edit after edit.
Would there be? That's the question.
They've done it to everybody else.
I will say this is still unofficial. I think it was reported by Variety and a couple other people, but it's not officially announced yet. So it could change, but I don't know. They've said that the idea would be that this new Batgirl movie is, like I said, standalone, so it's separate from the other films that have been made. It's going to be based on the new 52 Batgirl. So I'm just wondering, maybe they're going to let him, almost like how their TV universe is separate. Maybe they're going to let him go off and create another universe that'll be fun.
I think he's too busy with Marvel movies, and he couldn't possibly work for both companies.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my other concern. Is I would assume Marvel would have a problem with this. I mean, not that they can control what jobs he takes. But
they might be able to if it's in his contract.
Might be non-compete,
like a non-compete.
Yeah. But I mean, I know he's stepped back. He's not directing those Marvel movies anymore, but I know he's still producing them. Mm-hmm. So how much role he has in those going forward, don't know. But
pretty much anything that he puts his name to, I'm gonna like it going forward.
I would expect
he's earned my trust that I can not worry about it, and whatever he puts out there, I'm going to enjoy. Maybe not be my favorite, but it's going to be good. Yeah. He didn't do Guardians of the Galaxy, but I feel like part of his paint got mixed in with the paintbrush into that movie because of what he did in the previous other Avengers movies. But did you see what they're going to be doing with the New Warriors?
I saw that. Netflix is doing a new Warrior series that's going to be all their established characters together in one.
No, that's the Defenders.
No, Defenders. I'm sorry,
Defenders.
Oh, we talking about Warriors, the old '70s movie?
No, it's called. I think they're called the New Warriors. It's young teens Marvel group.
Oh, okay. I don't know about this one.
One of the Warriors was Ricochet, who was basically at one point Spider-Man was being hunted by the police, so he couldn't be Spider-Man, so he created 4 different versions of himself. One was like, I can't remember their names, but one was called Ricochet, so it was taking advantage of his personality traits and then having one that was running and throwing things, one that was strong, one that could fly or something, so different versions of himself, so he could still fight crime. Yeah. And then later on, he became Spider-Man again, and these 4 teens took on those mantles.
Roles, sure.
So Ricochet was one of them, and I think not Impulse, but there was some other character with a name like Impulse. Anywho, one of the side characters is Squirrel Girl.
Oh yeah, I did see that they're doing a Squirrel Girl movie or
that's
TV
what
show.
It's going to be. It's going to be like a CW style show, comedic teen comedy, but they want Squirrel Girl to be the lead,
the main character
of the group.
That feels right. I mean, you can't have a Squirrel Girl property and have it not be a comedy of some type.
Yeah, it's hard to treat that seriously.
You can't go grimdark with that. So.
But it could be fun.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to what new products we have to see coming up.
And we'll probably touch on this later, but are you looking forward to the Defenders?
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
We're gonna
I'll
get
talk
back
about
to
that more in a minute.
We're gonna get back to that later.
There was a film that was being touted as wasn't announced officially.
Okay.
But script writers were involved. Arnold Schwarzenegger was involved. Mm-hmm. He was very excited. The Legend of Conan.
Ooh.
An older, 30 years later Conan.
Ooh, a warlord Conan?
As a Conan, angry on his throne, alone. It was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And something about
Mary.
The powers that be let it go. And apparently there was a ton of people who were let down. That doesn't mean it couldn't still happen, but it seems like this new... I wouldn't know if it was not even a reboot. It's just a continuation.
Well, that's the great thing about Conan. You can just do whatever story you want. It doesn't matter.
Conan is just like Mad Max. You can tell any kind of story in that universe.
And they did. They made that Conan movie, 5 years ago?
But, I think it should have been...
to see it, to be honest with you.
I think that should have been just like Mad Max, where Mad Max may not be even the same guy.
Right, it's just a mantle, sort of.
Just a mantle.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Conan the Barbarian is a concept that feels out of place in modern society. I mean, obviously the books were written long ago, but even those movies from the 80s don't feel like they would work today because they're just beefcake, just slob, just like weird.
I think it's a layer
fantasy,
it's a layer of fantasy that isn't as approachable.
Yeah.
Harry Potter is approachable.
Sure. Even
Dungeons and Dragons, because it's Arthurian,
you can make it approachable.
But something like Krull,
yes,
it's a little too
same
trippy.
Sort of, yeah, it's weird, but also not weird in a fun new age way, but weird in a, I don't want to say grimdark. It's not grimdark, but like weird in this like brutal, dark, medieval, primeval sort of way. It's in its own category. Yeah. Low fantasy. But I think even Flash Gordon is another representative. They've tried to reboot it a couple of times. It's not going to work.
And it for some reason it's just so in its own level.
It's too campy. It's too tongue in cheek, and people.
Conan's campy too.
I agree, and I don't think audiences accept that. They're not willing to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and just appreciate it for what it is. Mm-hmm. Even the '70s Flash Gordon, I don't think is as well remembered as it should be. Which it was gloriously campy for the '70s, and it was.
But when you have a soundtrack by Queen,
so good,
Lord,
such a good choice because it was so.
Epic and sweeping
off the wall, and
the only way it could have been better is if it had David Bowie involved too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's another topic for anher night about 80s fantasy films. And
how about just David Bowie, for goodness sake?
Well, we could the Bowie cast, the Wookiee Bowcast. I don't know. I was trying to make a Wookiee Bowcaster joke.
Okay,
it didn't work.
It was a good stretch, Armstrong. Good try.
Shut up. So tonight I wanted to expand on a topic that's been popping up in the news over the past really month or two, I guess. But a couple of YouTube personalities have gotten themselves into trouble. One a bit more prominently than the other.
Haven't they always been getting themselves in trouble?
That's true, but I think we're entering a new world. We've entered the cycle of maturity with streaming and YouTube as a media, where we're now getting to the point where we have established people who are now corporate, quote unquote, who are big enough to where there's consequences to things.
Of course.
It's been interesting just from that perspective to watch it develop as a media.
It's not only them, but it's also that these channels, we'll just go ahead and say YouTube as its own thing.
Yeah.
It is becoming more beholden as a company, as a corporation, to their advertisers.
To sponsors, yeah, absolutely.
So even they, and then the entire environment is having to pay attention to these things because there's more money on the line than ever before. There are more eyes on it, and there's a responsibility to what is actually being said.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get more into that, but what specifically the stories I'm kind of talking about, I think we briefly mentioned it in previous episodes, but PewDiePie famously did a video where he paid some people to hold up a insensitive sign, we'll just say that. More recently, slightly recently, again, this is a while back it happened, but John Jafari, I think is his last name, something like that, made a tweet that was seen as not the nicest thing to say, and then went on another YouTuber's channel to do an interview about it and kind of expounded and went fairly deep off the rails into some pretty controversial statements.
Did we advertise? Did we keep the Keemstar conversation? I think we edited that one out.
Yeah, I don't think we kept it.
Yeah, Keemstar did a very similar thing where he was finally caught and busted for very terrible, specific, deliberate, hateful, and discouraging and I hate to use the word, but in this case it's true, bullying comments. Yeah. To people that he victimized and therefore got some of his more trolling audience to also help victimize. Right. And then it tends to be the next day they have their apology video ready to go where they try to explain away what they said. Very briefly, can you remind me, because I'd seen something about this, but some of the things that John said and then what his recourse was?
So, recourse is an excellent question, but so what he did is basically there was a representative in the House who is well known for not having the most racially sensitive views, we'll say, who had tweeted something. Basically, it was in support of the immigration ban, saying that we shouldn't allow Muslims into the country, and we're getting into some political territory here, and apologize for any offense that's delivered, none intended. John Tron came out and defended that statement, basically saying that he agrees that we should protect our country's borders from people who want to get in. And some people, the way he stated it, and specifically the person he was defending, I think some people took offense to that. So he was invited onto a show on YouTube by a guy who his channel is called Destiny, but he did they labeled it as a debate. I don't know if it was more of an interview than anything, but it was basically because John Tron had gotten into some controversy over this single tweet, like let's clear the air, let's explain yourself. Here's a lifeline for you to defend yourself.
Yeah, but at the same time, I bet that channel is just like, let me get some views.
Well, sure. Hey, let's not dismiss the fact that people are looking for attention. But he went on through this interview to go into depth about some really not nice views that are. Let's see. So basically, in this debate interview, he went into detail and expressed views. For example, saying that more wealthy black Americans commit more crimes than poor white people. That the court system in our country isn't biased against people of color, which kind of is a controversial topic, I guess. He stated that Irish and Italian immigrants in the past were just considered other normal white people, which, if you know anything about the history of immigration in this country, is patently untrue. He said that Black Lives Matter movement doesn't disavow violence, which it does. Basically, he went on to... and the thing is, and I don't see an exact quote, but I read that he basically supported Richard Spencer, who is the white supremacist who famously got punched.
That's the point that I do remember more of.
So, basically repeating a lot of he also insisted that there was a Mexican movement to reclaim part of the United States, the La Raza movement. Basically, these are all talking points from right-wing media that are basically untrue or very, very stretching the truth. So he basically dug his hole deeper in this interview is what happened is, he came out and said, I think we should defend our borders. And somebody said, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that we should be careful about national security? And he came out and said, no, I think that people from other countries are dirty terrorists who are going to kill us all. Mm-hmm. And that's my words, not his, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying.
So what I'm getting, and let's be honest, in a moment of broadcast, in a moment of trying to maybe be sensationalistic a bit, just to develop a conversation, right, you're going to say things in shorthand. Uh-huh. And please recognize I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I am aware that sometimes something can be taken a little out of context. And so sure. I try to always give somebody, I honestly give PewDiePie a lot of wiggle room in his specific video because it was an allegory. However, there's a direction and a depth and a final intent. Yeah. And if you are on record as having said many, many things, and then you have one instance where you go, oh, that was a joke. Uh-huh. Not every time you do it or say it is a joke. Unless you're a stand-up comedian and you're doing the same material every night to get it ready for when you finally have your HBO special. Yeah. Other than that, you don't get a pass with me. Yeah. And if you're going to make that many... If he said one of those things, I could... I'm trying to give him benefit of the doubt here. Yeah. I could see that he really felt that way, and he was trying to open up a conversation. Uh-huh. If I said, I don't think that Black Lives Matter is necessarily a peaceful movement. I think that there are some undertones that have not been addressed. I could understand someone having a conversation on that point, even if it feels a little inflammatory. Sure. And someone the next day is going to blast it on social media. Crafty B Gamer says Black Lives Matter.
Hates black people.
And we can have that conversation. I can support myself. But that's sort of a diatribe? Yeah. It's irresponsible.
Well, so that's one thing I've seen. It feels like both PewDiePie and JonTron have done this, and I've seen other people in their situation who have done this too, where they've said controversial things, and then they claim it as just, oh, I'm just trying to start a conversation. Am I not allowed to just ask questions? It's a really common tactic among, for lack of a better word, the ultra-right. And to a certain extent, I agree. If you want to say, well, this movement, let's understand their motives, okay. But I feel like that line of justification ends the moment you say, well, I think maybe we should give the Nazis a benefit of the doubt. We should maybe hear what the Nazis have to say because, they have a right to talk too. At that point, I don't agree. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of times that's what they're saying, there is a difference between saying we need to defend our country and we should let Richard Spencer go on national television and talk about what he wants to in the name of balance and fairness.
Yes, but if we have that freedom of speech, and I'm one of the huge supporters that freedom of speech does not mean you get to say anything you want, right? But you need to let someone hang themselves. And sometimes you need to let a pompous political individual get on TV so something that they're going to say finally gets them.
Okay. I agree.
But but it has to be represented in the media in a certain way. Yeah. And there's a difference between being media, being news, and then being a single individual. Yeah. And you're trying to hang a brand on yourself.
Well, here's the problem, is all three of those things you just discussed, because of the nature of our society and our media, are one and the same now.
Sure.
And this comes back to a word you mentioned earlier, responsibility. And that's really what this topic is about, is a responsibility to your audience as a creator. What sort of responsibility do you have? Because we talked about this in the past in other episodes about normalizing things. And that's my biggest argument against something like what PewDiePie did, where you can sit here and say, yeah, absolutely, he's a comedian, quote unquote. He's not funny, but whatever. He does, quote unquote, comedy. He tries to be funny. He was doing a bit in a video where he was trying to push the boundaries, make a statement, maybe, whatever the case may be. You're trying to defend it that way. But at what point does he have a responsibility not to normalize, diminishing what the Nazis did?
Sure.
If you want to push the boundaries as a comedian, if it's clear you're pushing boundaries and it's clear it's comedy, then you're absolutely right to do that. But when you are somebody like PewDiePie, who has a huge, huge audience of very young, very impressionable people, and you joke about the same subject over and over again, subjects that are taboo, yeah, you're joking about them, but because you're constantly mentioning them, you're not making them taboo anymore. You're allowing people, instead of saying, haha, look at these Nazis, they're evil and bad, you're saying, haha, I said a Nazi thing, haha. And then all of a sudden, David Duke shows up, and he's like, oh, I guess I can say Nazi stuff now. Great. And yeah, while most of us in the thinking world are going to look at that and say, wow, what an idiot, there's 5% or whatever the case of the country that are going to look at him and say, ooh, wow, he's right, I should follow him and give him money. I
think that's a bit of a stretch, to tell you the truth.
I don't think it is
I know where you're going with it, and when you normalize something, we do that every day. We normalize ourselves after tragedy. We normalize ourselves through card games, where what was once sacred and obtuse is now a punchline, and then almost becomes boring because it's not gross or gory or offensive enough.
Yeah.
And we have become very desensitized, all of us, because of our saturation. Mm-hmm. And we've got to understand that. We've done it to ourselves. We're watching things, we're listening to things, and eventually Nazism becomes a punchline. And that is okay. But it's not.
I don't think it's okay at all. The problem when you say that you're not sure that you can take it that too extreme, you only have to look at the recent election cycle. And again, I'm not trying to take sides here too much, but if you look at the online presence that the ultra-right has, you know what Pepe the Frog is, right?
Yes.
He was used as a symbol by the alt-right, they call themselves, by internet Nazis. A huge chunk of the people posting Pepe memes and stuff were doing it for the lulz, quote unquote. They were doing it because it was funny, ha ha ha. Isn't it funny to joke about the Holocaust? And all of a sudden, the alt-right exists in our country, and all of a sudden they have a political voice?
No, they've always had a political voice.
It's never been nearly as powerful it is now. They have their own news service.
I don't think it's more powerful. I think it's just we're seeing it. We are seeing it.
I agree.
They were seeing it before. We're the ones who are now seeing it.
I agree that there's some aspect of that, of the internet is shedding light on stuff that was already there.
Yes.
More than it did in the past.
Yes.
But it's also, and this is well documented, as the internet is an extremely powerful recruiting tool for white supremacists.
And for terrorism.
And for terrorists.
Domestic
it always
terrorism.
has been.
Sure.
And that's what scares me. And again, it goes back to responsibility of your audience. You know, if PewDiePie's followers were all 35-year-olds like us, he can say whatever he wants. And this is my perspective as somebody like Dave Chappelle. I love Dave Chappelle to death. A lot of his stuff pushes a lot of boundaries.
I watched his special, and I know the joke in question.
Oh, no, I haven't seen his new special. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw his new special, and the joke in question is that it's better to be transsexual than be black. It's safer,
okay.
Like with hate crimes, and be like, I'll cut my penis off and throw it at somebody, and it seems really insensitive, but he's always made these kinds of jokes. Yeah. He's always pushed these boundaries. Yeah. And if you're sitting in the audience, you know what you're getting into. Yeah. And it was not a joke about being transsexual. It was about being black.
Right.
To the core. And people who were offended by it were being offended by the thing that made it more obtuse. Mm-hmm. When it was really, he always said, like, none of y'all want to be me. because I'm black, but I'm rich, and you still don't want to be me, and I'm richer than you because I'm black.
Yeah.
And that was a great joke, and that was true to the heart of his comedy and his message.
Sure.
This was too, and people got incredibly affronted.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care that we're affronted because it's still his message. And I think what we're getting away from a little bit is we're talking about John Trump. Yeah. We're not talking about Fox News.
Well, okay, so that's my point, though, is what I'm saying. Fox News or Dave Chappelle, same group. Mm-hmm. They speak to you and I. We're mid-30s, we're adults, we're educated. They're speaking to us.
Fox News is an agency that has an agenda. Dave Chappelle is a comedian that has to worry about himself.
But I'm talking about their audience, though.
Okay.
Their audience are adults.
True.
5-year-olds are not watching Fox. I hope they're not watching Fox News. It's not very interesting. JonTron, PewDiePie, their audience are 12 years old.
Yes.
They're impressionable.
Yes.
They're uneducated.
Yeah.
From our perspective. They don't understand the world. They're
learning about the world.
They're learning about the world from people like PewDiePie and JonTron. And so if they're learning that in our world you can make jokes about Nazis all the time and it's okay, that normalizes it for those kids. Mm-hmm. And they grow up thinking that it's okay to talk about those things, not in a healthy way, because if we look at somewhere like Germany where, I'm not going to say discussion of the Holocaust is banned, but, symbols of Nazism are straight up banned in Germany. They censor a lot of things, and for, I think, probably good reason, but, in the United States, we don't do that because we say, no, freedom of speech. We're allowed to talk about these things as adults, as well we should be. But what scares me and where the responsibility comes in is that so many creators, because the audience net is so wide, you're speaking to audiences that media has never really spoken to before. Mm-hmm. With the level of freedom that it has to that.
True. Yeah, normally if you were going to have something reach children, it would be going through a company, getting on television.
Very sanitized.
Very sanitized, or at least the irreverence was on purpose, and it was still being tracked by a PR team.
Yeah.
Like Nickelodeon, how irreverent it got with certain cartoons, but really it was more about boogers and fart jokes.
Sure, it wasn't...
Like, you can't do it on television was appalling. Like, this is going to ruin America. No, it didn't. Because you poured slime on people and you made fart jokes.
Yeah.
But that was opening kids' eyes to something. But now we're getting into something that is more affecting to other people. You can be racist and hateful as if it affects nobody else in the world. If at no point do you harm or hold back a person of a different race, and you never interact with them and say a cruel word, you can have all the hate in your heart you want, and that's fine. If you want to write a manifesto and then you just put it in a shredder and no one ever reads it, that's manifesto. Fine. You may not be a good person.
It kind of goes against the point of a manifesto.
He's reading it. It's just a manifesto.
It's a manifesto.
Yeah. It's a solo festo.
Hashtag manifesto. We invented a new thing.
Ooh. But I kind of feel like that's okay because people are born with feelings and prejudices.
Yeah.
But once you step on this stage, you have to be aware that there is a reaction.
Yeah.
So that responsibility, if you don't care, and all of a sudden you're losing subscribers, you're losing advertisers, you're losing clout, you're getting because that's what happened to John. He got fired from a video game. He was going to do a voiceover or a cartoon or something.
They dropped him
and they could find somebody else because his voice is not at all special.
No.
There are actual amazing voice actors who need work, and I could tell you a few. I'll get you hooked up.
Who aren't stunted men, children.
Yes.
Sorry.
But and that's okay. We have a platform.
Yeah.
It's a 2x4 laying in the ground in a ditch.
Yeah.
But it's our platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you and I have made very conscious decisions about what we're going to put out there.
Right.
Political, we're going to try to put that away. This is probably the most political we've ever been.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Which is okay. We're taking a risk, but we know it's a calculated one that we're not trying to be offensive.
We're just doing it for the views.
We're doing it for the conversation.
We're not. This is I think this is a topic we both care a lot about. And
I do.
We've had off-air discussions about this before.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. I was thinking about this earlier today when I was thinking about this topic. I have really strong political views. My educational background is in politics, actually. So I have.
Are you offended by the term poli-sci?
No.
I feel like poli-sci is.
That's the short term for my degree.
I know, but I feel like it's like using midget instead of dwarf. You know what I mean? Oh, you're a poli-sci major.
The only offense I take is if I use the word poli-sci and people don't know what it means.
Okay.
Then I have to explain it. It's just shorthand. But
it's kind of like I get offended when I say I was in criminal justice. Like, oh, you're going to be a CSI? I'm like, there's more to the world than CSI.
CSI, yeah.
And they have...
trust me, you don't want to get my views about the popular view of political science. But anyway, I have my political views. They're very strong. I try my best to make sure that they stay personal. Mm-hmm. I talk about them amongst friends in closed-off circumstances as best I can. But anything I'm doing, videos, this podcast, our website, anything I'm putting out there, even my Twitter, I try not to push things too much because I'm not trying to offend anybody. Because I like everybody. I like folks. It's not. I like folks. It's not because I'm afraid of my beliefs, but I'm not. I feel like if somebody comes to watch my video, they want to see me making a costume or playing a game. They don't care about my political views, and I'm not going to force those onto them.
As you grow, if we grow, as YouTubers and content creators, they're going to come to us for two things. One, the things that we're doing. Yeah. Two, who we are.
The personality.
And so they will do Q&As. And I see people who I thought were just costumers or they played video games, and people go, how old is your kid now? Are they enjoying school? Like, they want to know you. You connect to them in a certain way. Sure. And John Tron, I think, one of the things about him is he seems to me to be an open person, that if you like what he does, you might want to get to know him, and it makes him grow as a person. And part of that is, as you do get to touch their soul over time, and then this happens, what are you doing to your core audience? Yeah. You're hurting them. You're harming them. You're pushing them away. And then if there are some that are confused, that are malleable, are you aware that you could be giving them conflicting signals?
Yeah. And I mean, that's my fear, is that you're programming into people the idea that it's okay to have, frankly, terrible views.
I think you should question your views.
With the excuse that, oh, he's just asking questions. Oh, he's just saying what he feels like. Good on you for defending your view. You know,
but there's a difference between him asking questions and him asking leading questions in a way that already presuppose an answer that he wants you to talk about. And you can tell the difference.
Or asking questions based on made-up facts.
Mm-hmm. This is facts that are not representing.
This is the Fox News problem, where you're basically making up problems. Mm-hmm. Well, when are we going to talk about the rat problem in here right now, Cyrus? And you're going to say, what rat problem? I'm going to say, the rat problem that everyone's talking about. Yeah. You haven't seen a rat in here, but now all of a sudden you're afraid of rats.
Do you remember there's a... And this is inappropriate, but this is something I heard at Boy Scouts. Uh-huh. And someone would say, do your parents know you're gay? Mm. And the answer is, no. I mean, no.
Yeah,
shut up.
That's actually a really good example.
Exactly.
As dumb child offensive as it is.
Yeah.
You're leading somebody, it's not honest debate. It's joking for joking's sake. And that's what bothers me a lot. And, we've talked about internet culture, and we mentioned it obliquely today. Cards Against Humanity is a great example. I feel like this is part of the thing that we have to fight against in internet culture, especially youth culture, because it's one and the same with internet culture these days. The integration of that sort of thinking, that sort of... Oh, it's okay because I'm joking. 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 Except that I've been joking about Nazis the whole time. And then all of a sudden...
I think it's okay that you're joking. The problem is, when the joke is over, there's no decompression and analysis with the viewer. I think about not a parent, very proud uncle, as maybe a future parent one day.
Sure.
But with my niece and nephew, they're smart. They're really clever.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to get on YouTube. But they still occasionally see Minecraft videos from somebody else, which it's Minecraft. There's nothing at all offensive there.
Yeah.
But if someone's going to make a joke that's inappropriate, it's going to get out there, and they're going to see it, and they're going to hear these things, and they're not going to know what that really means. But if I'm with them, and we're talking, and we're joking, and there's a fart joke, and we're going to laugh about a fart joke because it's funny, and
they are funny.
But we're not allowed to say fart. You have to say toot. But it's still a fart joke.
Toot's funnier as a word from
a
comedy
And there's a
standpoint.
great video of my nephew warming his buns. It was like a cold, snowy day. He's going, I tooted. He's wiggling around. He goes, I tooted. He almost got caught saying that he farted. And they have that sense of humor. They know what's funny.
Yeah.
But if anything goes too far, and I've had to set him aside, like, look, toot, that's funny.
Yeah.
But it's time to calm down now. We're about to have dinner. Grandma's over there and she's nervous because we're being so loud. There's a time for decompression and explanation.
Yeah.
If they hear us joke about something, they still laugh at me for an audio recording I did when I was drunk. They don't know I was drunk.
Yeah, they just think Uncle Cyrus is being silly.
Cyrus is being silly.
Yeah.
And it was audio only, and it was very clean. It was actually kind of news-based.
It was pretty funny, yeah.
But there's a time to explain, Uncle Cyrus is being silly.
Yeah.
And they know. And there's a conversation that's had. And I think that as a YouTube creator in particular, but anyone else in this sort of new age social media explosion, you have to take that responsibility yourself.
Yeah.
And not explain away through excuses.
Right.
And some people are good at that. They can. Philip DeFranco, I think, is fantastic about that because he's one of the smartest YouTubers that I've seen that can have that conversation and still have a very political message.
Yeah.
But he says it in a way that seems like it's conciliatory if you're open to it, but if you're just a douchebag, you're a douchebag. And he wants everyone to love each other, but he still has feelings on that. And he has very strong feelings on JonTron and on PewDiePie. They're basically anti that, but he's open to listen to what they have to say until what they have to say is what they said.
Yeah, I mean, I that's a really good point. I totally agree. That decompression idea where I'm thinking back to as a kid, and the Boy Scout example is a great example. When little boys growing up, you share dirty jokes and stuff like that. They get around. And it doesn't mean you grow up to be a horrible monster. You had those moments for decompression. The problem is when a kid is all they're doing is watching YouTube for 4 hours and they're interacting with these sorts of personalities. If they're only getting these things reinforced, they're not getting that decompression time. That's an issue.
I could go into a greater amount of detail about how pornography is affecting young men, where they're thinking this is how relationships go.
Yeah.
And the young ladies are learning that that's how guys think relationships go, and that him giving you lovin' is actually less intimate than him kissing you. Yeah. That him kissing you is a thing you earn by doing the other.
Right.
Oh, like way off subject.
Yeah, no, that's another subject for another podcast. But yes.
But it has to do with how media gets out there, and there's no regulation. And I don't think there should be regulation except for your own, because things are going to happen. People are going to ingest what you put out there as age restriction, content restriction continues even right now to evolve on YouTube because of advertising. Things are getting turned, and if it seems at all like hate speech, what do you think is going to happen to JonTron when he's dropping little comments here and there? Boom, hate speech. Your whole channel has been flagged. Well, your advertising revenue is gone completely overnight.
What scares me, though, is that somebody like JonTron can turn to what he said and say, oh, that's not hate speech. That's just me giving my views, and you can't. So
they can, because he doesn't have free speech. It's a private company, and they can let you put on it whatever they want you to put on it.
I'm just afraid of we have to make sure the conversation's in the right place where it's very clear what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to talk about. Mm-hmm. You can raise valid points that are contrary to mine, but if you're raising points that are outright racist, sexist, homophobic, that's not okay. And it does come down to content providers like YouTube and advertisers, and the folks are paying the money for this to really be the ones to make that decision. I think they're doing a fairly good job of that, but I hope that everyone who has a presence online is staying aware of what they're saying, how they're saying it, how it affects kids, because kids are online and kids are hearing this stuff. I don't know. I think back to my childhood. You and I both grew up in the South. I don't know about you, but I heard a lot of off-color jokes, we'll call them, growing up.
Oh, sure.
From family, we'll just say. And
I don't know. I feel like if you grew up in the right household, and this is if you grew up in the right household.
Yeah.
I heard these jokes that were about possibly race, possibly intimacy.
Yeah.
They were very, I use the word obtuse or absurd. Yeah. And it was the joke because it was a joke, but I never once thought, this is how it's supposed to be, or this is right.
But at the same time...
But I was still saying things that could be really harmful.
That were harmful, and that you didn't know were harmful. And if you say those things long enough, you get old enough and you're comfortable saying harmful things. Mm-hmm. Not because you have hateful intent in your heart, but just because you think it's okay to say harmful things. And that makes it more likely to say them. And then you get to the point where you're saying something bad to somebody. You're not intending anything bad, but you are offending others. You're hurting other people because of the harmful things you just said. That's what we're talking about with normalization. And that's
well, just... And you know what your mama used to say? You can't say anything nice. Don't say anything at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's an excellent adage, and I think more content producers need to take that to heart. You know, I won't call anybody out by name any more than we already have, but if you're not going to say anything nice, even if you're joking, then just don't say it. It's not funny.
You know, speaking of responsibility, I've had something on my mind for the last week, and it's kind of connected to the conversation we were just having. There are a couple YouTube creators.
Yeah.
One who had his own website, who basically just disappeared when the getting was good. And that's going to happen. People move on in profession. The channel that they were associated with maybe changes, gets closed out.
Yeah.
There are various reasons that people leave YouTube. And there are a ton of people that I watched 5 years ago religiously that are gone now.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about two of these individuals. Number one is Noah Antweiler, a.k.a. Spoonie, or the Spoonie Sage.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He had several different series that were running. Part of he was on That Guy with Glasses. Yeah. It used to be Blistered Thumbs, or he was part of that Guy with Glasses, Blistered Thumbs conglomerate.
Right.
But he made some very disparaging comments against one of the women. He's been known to make some sort of jokes without alleging rape or something weird in there, and he always sort of played it off as that I'm just making jokes, I didn't mean it, or I did mean it, or we're talking about something, or he was just being mean. Yeah. And for that, I didn't like him, but there are some things that he did, some videos that he produced that I really liked, and so when he went off on his own, some of the things he wasn't bound by the other channel, he could just sort of freestyle and do whatever he wanted. One of which was called Counter Monkey. And Counter Monkey, I think, might have even been on the other one, but that was all like RPG stories.
Yeah.
Things that he had gone through, really funny circumstances, and anyone who's played Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, any of those kinds of games for a long time, they're going to have fun, crazy stories about their player characters or just situations they were in or games that they ran. It was awesome. Every single video was long. He kind of rambled, but it was entertaining, and eventually he got to a denouement that was very unique. There was no other video like it. It was just him talking to you, telling stories. Loved it. Yeah. He also did movie reviews, like every Reb Brown movie ever made, like cheesy action movies. He had stuff like that because he had a genuine love for the actor and for camp. For that
cheesy action
camp,
stuff.
80s camp. Yeah. And then he just fell off the map about a year, almost 2 years ago. Yeah. Now he'll do live wire feeds. Just video streaming where he may not even be commenting. Yeah. You just hear him breathe in the background. And some of his reporting was, I've got depression. I've got sleep problems. Yeah. And I'm not saying this isn't true. But there are so many excuses that are interconnected that it just seems like, I'm just not. I'm going to find a way not to do things.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to. Former colleague of mine would use the term parking lot. I'm going to parking lot that for a minute. I'm going to set it aside. All right. Move on to the second instance.
Okay.
Chris Levins, a Canadian actor who had a website called Cute with Chris.
Okay.
Where he made cute cat videos.
Oh, okay.
Or people sent in cute cat videos.
Yeah.
And he made snarky comments, and he gave cats laser eyes, and he had a little talking horse, little plastic horse, that was his co-host.
Okay.
And then he had another bigger one that was called Pervy.
It sounds
Pervy
like
the horse.
Early YouTube stuff, yes.
He made his big fame by reciting rap lyrics like a white guy. Okay. You know,
definitely
I'm going to buy you a drink. And it exploded. He even had the rappers reply about his videos, saying that was funnier, and then feature his video on their page.
Yeah.
So he got very famous very quickly, and then as at the peak of his popularity, he just stopped.
Disappeared.
He's now doing a couple different small TV shows, I think, in Canada. So he's still working.
Yeah.
But he's not... His website is just sitting there. I think it's still alive. It's just frozen in time.
Unupdated. Sure.
As if it's some... I don't know... Mayan ruins out there that you could discover and go, wow, what is this?
Why is this here? Just to interrupt, I was actually reading a blog the other day about... it was reviewing RPG systems. I was like, this guy's really good. He's got a really good blog. It's really smart. And I realized that the last update was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, that sucks.
Like, what happened in 2013 that everyone stopped?
All of a sudden he stopped doing stuff. Anyway, it's okay.
So here's my issue with that.
Yeah.
We're talking about responsibility as a YouTube creator. If something happens in life and you decide to move on, something happens in your career, maybe you become a mother or a father, you just can't commit that time anymore.
Sure.
I think you have a responsibility to finish what you started, and that might mean put out a couple more videos, take time to say goodbye, take time to wrap up something, give a good all-out, this is going to be it, I'm done, for the people who've been with you from the very beginning. Yeah. But moreover, a lot of these guys got some benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Spoony had a Patreon thing going on. At his zenith, he was getting $5,000 a month. Like $4,800 a month from his patrons. That's on top of his day job.
Whatever else he did.
Whatever else it was he was doing. If he had just kept it up, he was making a ton of money. He even promised his fans to make some sort of movie based on himself. Like the Angry Video Game Nerd. Yeah. He made a movie.
Went out and made his own movie.
He even sold the DVDs and I think he even did a review of his own movie. And that was for the fans, not for himself.
Yeah.
He wanted to make something. He always did. He made movies as a kid. Yeah. Spoony loves RPGs. I think it would have been awesome to pay people to make this Spoony RPG.
RPG, yeah.
You know, there's video game makers already out there, like games to make games.
Yeah.
He could have done a number of
Maker
things.
2K or whatever it is. Yeah.
He just dipped down. I think he's still making almost $1,000 a month from the Patreons, and all he does are these live wire, these live video game streams.
Yeah.
I think it's insulting that he took the money and kind of ran, and maybe he's got some personal things going on, but without us getting too deep into it, I don't know if some of those circumstances would prevent you from creating anything. Much less... Man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a difficult topic for a couple different reasons. First of all, we need to make a distinction between if you're getting money out of it or not. Yes. I think that's an important distinction to make. If you are monetizing your videos,
right,
getting ad revenue, if you're doing a Patreon, if you do a Kickstarter, etc., the moment you accept money, you are absolutely beholden.
I think, yeah.
I think that goes without saying. And that aspect of it goes back to a topic I always like discussing about the growth of YouTube, the growth of social media as a medium. And I think back to the growth of television in the 50s as a medium and experimentation and things like that. What we don't have fully yet, although it's getting to be more and more like this on YouTube, is the idea that, Cyrus, you're a great YouTube personality, and the YouTube equivalent of CBS, we want you for a TV show. You're going to sign a contract with us. Mm-hmm. We're going to produce your show, you get this amount of money, and you're going to be there for every episode. We don't have that yet. We're cutting out the middleman, as it were. There's channels on YouTube, but there's no broadcaster. YouTube is broadcast. So, but I'm not signing up with you. I'm not paying YouTube money. I'm paying you money.
Yeah, fan supported content is, I don't know if it's the way of the future, but it is a big way that a lot of people are going, where you can support someone for $1 a month and help them see their dreams come true, and you're still getting what you love from them, and they're able to do it. The Don Forged Cast. The reason he's able to keep only a small part-time job is because his patrons are donating enough that his part-time job is also consulting with his patrons. So you pay $25 a month, and you get an hour a month with him to consult about anything, just to talk. You've got a game you want him to review.
Help him run it.
Help me write it. Help me come up with characters.
Sure.
Or to sit in on a RPG that he runs.
Yeah.
Pay a certain amount of money, and you get involved in a lottery, or you might get front listed and can play a game with him.
Yeah.
He is very smart doing that, and he has a very loyal fan base of people who enjoy what he does. He's very good at it, and he can make enough money to augment and still pay his bills. He's got a new baby girl. He's married. He's a grown man, and he makes this work.
But the problem is that quote-unquote contract that he's signing is with his patrons on Patreon.
Right.
And there's no contract there. He's not legally, financially beholden to them.
True.
If he wants to quit, he can quit.
But I feel as if they are beholden by a virtue.
From a moral standpoint.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that Chris Levins is beholden to his fans because they were able to help him raise money. He did a 2-night show in California, rented the space, filled it up. It was just him doing a story hour. He was going to put clips of the episodes, and they were all going to go up on YouTube. And then that's about the time he's like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this. I'm going to go. Maybe I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll see you later. And then radio silence from then on.
Sure.
So there was some sort of a goodbye, but it wasn't earnest, and it just seemed like he was tired and needed a break, and then he never came back. But these people, he had so many cute ideas. I bought 2 t-shirts from his store. He had a joke where someone, I can't even explain it, but he sold pins that said "pins, bitch," and it was a hilarious backstory in joke that the fans would know. So if I'm at a convention and someone who knew Cute with Chris saw me with a "pins, bitch" pin hanging from my shirt or on a lariat like I love Ghost Rider, then they would get it, and it would be this connection, and it's so funny. Yeah. And then to go back and watch the videos and how they evolve, it's still funny to this day. I feel like he owes meme content.
So,
do you know?
Yeah, I can see that, but at the same time, you know, I look at it from the perspective of a good comparison. I think is sports. A baseball player. A baseball player gets paid a heck of a lot of money to play a game, and you know, there's controversy about somebody, say, retiring.
Right.
A player decides to retire, quote unquote, before their time.
Okay.
So, and their salary is paid by the fans. Do they owe their fans more time to play? You know what I mean? Or maybe a wrestler is a better example, because wrestling you can go usually a little longer for various reasons. Does a wrestler owe it to their fans to keep wrestling?
They do.
Because they've built up that relationship and that trust.
If they can stay with the company.
Yeah.
You know, we'll say all that aside.
Yeah, let's cut out that middleman aspect.
They need to walk out, and this leads into probably the next thing we're going to talk about in a minute. You need to walk out the door the right way.
Yeah.
If you walk out for no good reason, and you don't come back and leave the right way, and you don't let the fans know you're walking out the door, I think you owe them.
Well, so the other aspect of this that I'm not going to say I don't agree with you, because I do, but the other aspect of this that makes me question this idea that you quote unquote owe anything is the fact that really what we do, you and I especially, but even the big YouTubers, the biggest of them, all what we do is live blogging. All we do is we're sharing our hobby with other people. Okay. So, you know, you go on and you make a video about crafting stuff, and, you know, you get 1 million people watch that video, and some people learn about crafting from you, and they appreciate that service you give, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and the entertainment you provide. As far as you're concerned, you would have done that crafting anyway. You just videotaped it and put it on YouTube.
Right.
So, that live blogging aspect of it, I think, diminishes this argument somewhat, to where I'm not... Again, to do an athletic comparison, I'm not sacrificing my body to play football to entertain you. I'm playing a video game, which I was going to do regardless of you.
Right.
I'm playing a video game. I just happen to be recording it and letting you watch, and you have some fun out of that.
Yeah, that's you and me and what we do.
Why the heck do I owe you anything?
You don't, but the person who's created content for several years, where it grows to a point where it is now part of the community. Mm. They have now created a community because of what they've done.
Yeah.
These people...
But what
you don't have to feel as if you owe them, that you have to support them, but you're part of that now.
You owe a reason to bow out.
You owe a reason to bow out. You need to complete what you've started, because this has grown beyond you now.
What if I just don't want to do it anymore?
There are people who've had to stay in TV shows when they were out of it because they owed it to the fans and they weren't going to leave.
That's a contract thing. Again, that's going back to, you got a contract for 20 more episodes, buddy.
No, they re-up because they know, I need to help tell the story. We've got one more season in the show. I'm going to come back for the final season.
And there's YouTubers that do that, I think.
There are some that do.
There are some that definitely don't. I was thinking actually about AVG and the Angry Video Game Nerd, James Rolfe, which you mentioned earlier. I think is a really good example of this, to where, honestly, if you look at his content he's put out in the past 3 years.
In 6 months.
It's clear that he is over the AVGN character.
He rarely does it.
Especially since he made that movie. He does not care anymore. He rarely puts those videos out, and when he does, they're short and they're not like they used to be. He spends most of his time doing Let's Plays and other stuff.
But from the beginning, he always wanted to be behind the camera more than in front of it.
That's true.
And so he's still evolving that. He's still on camera, doing a Let's Play, doing a review with Mike and with some other people. Yeah. And it's still, it's not the same video, but he's still making stuff for the community.
But he still does also come back. He knows that people want to see AVGN videos. He still comes back and does them.
Yeah.
I mean, and part of his excuse, and it's valid, is that he's done all the bad.
And how many games are there?
How many bad games are there? Which is perfectly valid, but also, like I said, it's clear.
Have you seen his
clear
Tiger Electronics review?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an instant classic.
But it's clear that he is tired of that style, but he still comes back and does them because he understands that people want to do those things. And so I respect somebody like him who, you can. It's not like he just dropped off and disappeared, or it's not like he just all of a sudden started doing scare James Rolfe videos or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
He didn't just change everything up. He started evolving and doing different things. I've seen some other YouTubers that have gone around similar, and to their credit, some of the ones that I've seen have come out and said, listen guys, I'm burned out. I'm not having fun doing these videos. I know you guys enjoy them. I'm not having fun. I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to step away for a while. I'm going to change up the way I do things.
I've seen that a lot where they say, I'm not going to do this thing every week. It's going to be a once a month.
Yeah.
So then every other week I'm going to give you this as
I'm
well.
I'm going to try something new, because that's, And that speaks to me as a creator. You constantly have to be doing new things, or else what's the point?
There was even another guy, I cannot remember his name because it's been so long, but it was him and his son at first doing YouTube, Minecraft Let's Plays.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because they're just talking things through, and he edited where you could see the kid's point of view from him playing, and like randomly just breaking blocks when he should be doing something else. And then they got his wife involved, so it was the whole family.
Nice.
And then they would have other great like Minecraft YouTubers come on, like famous people, and join them on the server for a week, and it was so cool. And then out of nowhere, they just stopped.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, okay, if you can produce the videos easily, if there are people out there who would kill to do what you're doing, and you're making dollars on top of nothing, it costs you no money to produce this stuff, just some time. I think you are stupid if you don't do it. That's my personal opinion.
That's a different
part of it comes with my jealousy that I'm not that person who is able to capitalize. I could do the same thing, if not better. I just don't have the viewership.
They all started at the same level we did.
They did. and I love them for what they did, and I felt like I was part of their family. I really do. I'm hanging out with the dad and the son and the mom, and we're playing Minecraft together. And I'm watching their videos as I'm playing Minecraft, and I feel like I'm there with them. And that's what they wanted. That was the idea. And then they just stop. So I felt this way for a long time, and I haven't been able to put it in words until this last week when I saw some other YouTubers who felt the same way. They should come back, and they should tell us what's going on. Because if you're making money off of us as subscribers, as followers, as whatever, if you're getting any ad revenue over a Let's Play where you don't even talk to me, I feel that's very disingenuous. You've lost your audience, and okay, if you want to go away into nothingness, but once you've become a member of a community, freaking DM Scotty, like the god amongst crafters right now in YouTube and Facebook. He had to have eye surgery, very dangerous eye surgery, where he had to lay on his face for several days. He couldn't strain his eyes. He couldn't read email. He had to basically be blind for just short of a month. So he let everybody know on Facebook, I love you guys. I've got the surgery. I should be fine. I'm going to be completely gone for a month, maybe a little more. That was really touching. And everybody in the community is like, oh God, we love you. Good luck. If there's anything we can do for you. And other people stepped up and started producing new videos and more pictures. And it felt like community bonded around him. And when he came back, hooray! And now the community had gotten stronger as a result.
I mean...
And any of these people who walked away, they could have done the same thing. Hey guys, I'm going to take a hiatus. I'm not gone. I promise you. Life's tough. I'm coming back stronger than ever before. You can follow me on Twitter for more updates.
It takes the right person. It takes the right person to be able to do that. In almost any field. I think the problem that we run into in YouTube and other social media things is that the barrier for entry is non-existent. Therefore, the barrier of exit likewise is non-existent.
It's just as easy for me to log on to anyone, as it is for me to delete my channel.
Yeah. Whereas to get a contract to have a TV show on the ABC network is incredibly difficult, which means that if you decide halfway through the season, I don't want to make this TV show anymore, guess what? You're going to make it because you have to. Whereas in YouTube, I want to make some videos. Okay, nobody's going to stop you. I want to leave. Okay, nobody's going to stop you.
Yeah.
People can be upset, but so yeah, I think it comes down to YouTube and other social sites, Twitch, evolving as a medium, evolving with their audience, becoming more. I don't want to say regulated, but more structured, more. As always, I think the more money that gets dumped in, which is happening, it's gonna prevent these sorts of things from happening. But at the same time, I worry that it'll harm what we do. It will become, the harder it is to get in and get out, the more it's going to hurt creativity, I think.
Yeah, and your creativity, you need to flex that muscle.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't be used to flexing that muscle.
Yeah.
And especially for writers, you've got to write every day. Yeah. And practice at it, and that doesn't take away from creativity. Sometimes you just need to shift that energy into writing something else or doing something else, but you need to still continue to write.
Yeah.
And building and crafting, creating, you still need to do it. It's a muscle that you have to keep strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, it does atrophy a bit, and then when you try to do it again, you're like, why are my painting skills so bad? Like, you kind of need to keep at it.
Yeah.
And people creating these videos, you can get burnt out. I mean, even us playing Minecraft, that was fun, and I want to keep doing it, but if we were going to do it 3 times a week, I think that would be exhausting.
Yeah, no, I'd get burned out immediately.
Yeah, but we want to keep doing it, and so shifting our energy is going to be really important.
Yeah.
But I think once you've built yourself in, as a creator in a community in particular, or if there's any financial backing, regardless, if there is no contract, we're talking about the social contract.
It's a social contract. I was about to use that term. It's a social contract that you sign with your community, with your fans. It's the same thing as if you live in a neighborhood and the first week you move into a neighborhood, you go around, you meet everybody, you invite everybody over for a barbecue, and everybody comes over and you're buddy, and then 2 months later you're like, you know what, I don't want to talk to anybody anymore. And you just stay in your house all day, people are going to be like, hey, where are you? What's going on? You create a social contract with a community, and you're now beholden to that.
And once it's established, there are ways out, but if you don't do it, you have to realize that people who looked up to you, people who kind of relied on you, maybe even emotionally, Spoonie in particular, with all of his problems, some people with, I wouldn't say special needs, but some people with attitudinal issues, people who did have depression, people who were socially awkward, they felt like they understood him because of some things that he had overcome in life. And then when he stops doing that, and he goes, well, I'll just click on the PlayStation 4, play whatever in the disc drive, and maybe I'll stream it and won't even talk.
It's lazy content.
It's lazy, and I hate to use the word that he owes it, but I think he owes it to his fans to finally get back out there. Yeah. Even if it's to retire. You have to do it the right way.
I think you're seeing a lot of that happening now with early YouTubers who didn't understand what they were... Because how could you? Didn't understand what you were getting into when you were creating a community online. You really don't know. And now that medium is maturing, we're starting to understand what it is we're doing, what it is you're creating.
I think what we're starting to understand, and this might just be the buzzword of the night, is we're understanding where the responsibility lines lie in this evolving media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other announcement that we had...
Yes, our second announcement we talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because it's official as of 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
I got my ticket. I'm so bad about it. You've had yours for about a week now.
Yeah, that's all right.
We are, the FoundryCast.com is going to Raleigh SuperCon.
We're officially going to be attending Raleigh SuperCon, not as guests or anything like that. We're just going as normal con goers. But yeah, we're going to be at Raleigh SuperCon July 12th, I want to say.
I think it's a little bit later in the month, but yeah, it's...
I'm sorry. You know what, I'll pull that date up really quick.
We'll pull that date. And, this is part of the excitement for me. I have not ever been to an actual convention.
Yeah, you've
not
never
like
been
that.
to a con before.
Never been to a con. I was thinking that maybe this year would be like the build-up of conventions, and then that was a lot of time commitment to something that I didn't know that I would even really want to do. And going to a dinky con is not the same as going to something with some substance.
Sure.
And this one is close enough, economical enough, and it's still going to have a ton of celebrities there.
Yeah, I've been to some local cons before that were fun for what they were. Mm-hmm. I mentioned actually on a previous episode, went to NC Comic-Con this past year. They're fun. They're cute. It was what it was. I saw this one pop up. It's a brand new con. They've done one in Florida for a number of years. The same organizers, but the first time they've done one in North Carolina. It popped up, and I was like, I don't know. We'll see. And then I looked at the guest list, and it's actually fairly good. I mean, it's not, Patrick Stewart's not there, but hey, LeVar Burton's going to be there. Ric Flair is going to be there. We've got some fairly big names.
There's a couple of North Carolina native wrestlers, like Ric Flair, Lita, Hurricane Helms, Shane Helms. I don't think Victoria was from North Carolina.
I don't remember.
But she's also former WWE superstar. Mm-hmm. There's John Wesley Shipp, an amazing actor. He said LeVar Burton.
LeVar Burton's going to be there. I forget his name. The kid who does Steven on Steven Universe. A couple of the kids from what's the show? Stranger Things. They're going to be there. Those two. I can't remember the kids' names. It's
They're
not
so
like
good.
an amazing group, but honestly, it's almost as good, if not better, than the lineup of guests at Dragon Con last year. So,
Joey Lauren Adams, who I had a crush on. Yeah. Manu Bennett, who's typically a character actor, but he also. I watched an interview from a different convention. Yeah. He actually talks about his nudity in Spartacus because someone had the gall to ask him about if he wore a codpiece because in season 1 he looked different down there than season 2. He's like, well, it was a cold day. It was very, very cold. And they're like, no, we're just going to shoot you from the belly button up. It's fine.
That's funny.
Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger. I mean, the White Ranger. I mean, the Red Ranger. Sure. I'm sorry. I mean, the Black Gold Dino Ranger.
The dude from the Power Rangers.
He's going to be there. Oh, Zach Callison is the guy from... from Steven Universe.
A couple guys from Clerks, Jason Mewes, and the other guy, I don't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Let me look up his name.
A few different folks.
And you know who, probably the biggest celebrity? Charles Martinet.
Yeah, Charles Martinet, Mario himself.
Mario is going to be there. So, I just wonder, can we pay him to do promos for us?
For the FoundryCast promo? We'll see. Maybe he'll be up for it. But yeah, no, the guest lineup looks good. It looks like there's going to be a big cosplay scene there, which I'm excited about.
Did we know Tara Strong was going to be there?
Yes. Yes,
how did I forget Tara?
Remember, because they were giving away a meet and greet with her and we didn't get it.
Sorry. Yeah. My heart fluttered a little bit. I forgot she was going to be there. Yeah. My apologies.
Nah, it's no problem. I'm excited for the con, though. I think it's going to be good. We haven't seen the full panel list yet, but going to be a big vendor hall. The venue looks nice. It's the Raleigh Convention Center, which is decently large. It's not massive, but I think it'll get the job done. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of hotel space. I was looking the other night, so I don't know whether or not to be concerned. The nice thing about this con is that it's in Raleigh, and that means NC State is right up the road, and there's a lot of nerds that go there, go Wolfpack. It's just up the road from, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and a couple of big universities, so, hopefully there's going to be good attendance. That's my only concern right now, is that it's going to be under-attended. Because I've been to other small conventions and they're fun, but, I can't imagine doing it for 3 days. And we're planning on being there all 3 days at this point. So I'm hoping it's going to be big enough to where, we're getting our money's worth. I feel like we have a difference
where I'm going to go more for the panels and more for the boutiques and things. And the guests who are the people, the con goers. Are very ancillary to me. For you, part of it is seeing all the costumes, seeing the people.
Absolutely.
Maybe even getting to know some of them. Sure. And I'm more of like, get out of my way. I need to sit up front and see Jason David Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see some of the folks there. I'm hoping there's going to be some panels we get to go to see some of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm coming from the perspective of Dragon Con, where the absolute most fun thing for me to do at Dragon Con is just be on the lobby floor and meet everybody and see their costumes and take pictures and talk to them about it. So I'm hoping I'll get a little bit of that there. I don't expect her to be on the same level, but that's okay. But I'm overall really, really excited to go down there.
And I think we're going to try to do some different podcasting from down there.
Yeah.
I think one night we'll probably record a very brief version of the podcast and maybe just upload it directly without any edits.
Sure. Talk about kind of what's going on, what we've been doing.
Or some sort of review that's very immediate, just for this is something that we kind of learned a little bit from Dragon Con last year, and is my inability to facilitate anything for the website from so far away. I wasn't there and I couldn't help, so I couldn't edit, I couldn't upload, and when you're in it, there's so much going on. You want to be in the moment.
It's hard to document. You have to dedicate most of your time to doing that.
Or at least between the two of us, there would be a little more of an opportunity to dedicate some time, some resources. So I'm really interested to see what we can also produce for the website.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to get some good stuff. We'll be able to do maybe even some live streaming. We'll do some, Facebook Live or YouTube or Twitch or something. We'll go on there, and because we'll have computers and webcams with us, we can sit there and
Facebook Live is probably going to be the way to do it.
I think that'll be a good route to take. And if you're a listener to our podcast, you go to our website. In July, it's July 14th through the 16th.
14th,
by the way.
Okay.
If you look for us there, you'll see plenty of content. Hopefully over that weekend, and definitely the week or two after, where we'll post pictures and all that good stuff. And leading up, I know we're going to do some segments here on the podcast and some stuff on our website about getting prepared. Happily enough, actually, just today, I ordered pretty much all the pieces I need to do a quote-unquote costume. It's more of an outfit that celebrates fandom than it is a full-on costume, but I'm going to have at least something I'm going to be wearing to this con that I'll do probably a video on.
I may just make some crappy foam armor. Just wear it.
Do that. We're going to have hopefully some wearables for ourselves.
I think we should do that.
That we're going to take. I do too.
That'll be so
I think some t-shirts
fun.
And some cards and stuff so that we can maybe try and connect with some fans and get the word out about our podcast, our website.
I think we're probably going to see about 3 months from here till then some very specific growth and some networking.
Sure.
So I'm really excited for the possibility. It's going to end up on us to not only theorize but then capitalize, and it's part of that squeezing that muscle. We're not going to be able to make it happen unless we make it happen.
Keep doing it every day.
And I think part of it, we can reap some awards and really enjoy a super fun con.
I think we will. I think it's going to be a blast. But yeah, I guess this is a good point to probably wrap up this episode 17. We've gone whole ham onto some topics.
Jeez, did we? I mean, I was thinking about it earlier, this should be enough.
Yeah.
But getting into the responsibility of being of this and of that in YouTube.
Yeah.
And then WrestleMania itself is just such
That's a whole topic for
I could go on and on more about certain matches and where I think storylines could have gone.
Sure.
And even some of your ideas. I'm like, we could have made more money off that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Ghost in the Shell or Iron Fist.
Right.
So I'd like to give you the briefest.
Yes, please.
Briefest synopsis.
I forgot that you wanted to tell me. I wanted to hear about Iron Fist.
Let me just say for Ghost of the Shell, anyone who's worried about whitewashing, I think should not. I think you should go see it based on the merits of what you expect it to be. If you've seen the Japanese anime and you loved it to pieces, don't go see it. You've already seen the best possible representation of the source material.
I totally understand. Why would you bother to go? It's like if they made a Cowboy Bebop movie. Why would you bother to go see it? Just watch
Unless
the anime.
Cowboy Bebop was treated with the same love that Guardians of the Galaxy is made, and tell a different story.
Yeah.
But they're almost telling the same story for beat in certain areas, and they're taking some aspects of the standalone complex and the other TV series or the episode series
stuff,
unnecessarily. But it's to tell the story in a movie.
Yeah.
There are no visuals that they show that tell anything new, and the pacing is pretty dreadful. The guy sitting 2 seats over from me was asleep.
Wow.
I felt tired during it.
Would you say it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide movie, where it's like if you're a fan of the book, just go read the book?
I actually thought Hitchhiker's Guide was a lot of fun.
I actually kind of enjoyed it more than a lot of people.
Yeah, and I thought it was really fun. But if it's a place to maybe get into the anime later, go see it. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that the biggest misstep, in my opinion, is the choice of sound design. Mm. The sound of glass breaking and punches or gunshots was fine. The music that was haunting and culturally based from the anime, not used in the movie.
Really?
When the movie ends and they go to the titles, you hear that chorus of the girls' voices, and you go, "Oh my God, this could have been made so much better by
use any of it,
by focusing more on the fact that this is Japanese." It's not that they whitewashed it; they just stripped a little bit of the cultural personality. Although they kept it in that pseudo-Japan city. Yeah. And the names were Japanese.
I mean, even the soundtrack feels cyberpunk.
Yeah.
The music somehow feels that.
And the movie itself has a cyberpunk-ish feel.
Yeah.
And Scarlett Johansson does a perfectly fine job because the character of Major, Motoko, can't remember her last name, it's like Kunusaki. She's not the most emotive.
No.
But Scarlett Johansson has enough nuances that she's good, and her face is something good to look at. There's only one moment where the CG doesn't look right, where she's jumping through the air, and with her body, it's a little squat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean the criticism, but the shot was from behind with her jumping. And it didn't look right. It really threw me off from what should have been an action moment. So, the only comment I have about whitewashing, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, so spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. Her body is Caucasian influenced.
Yeah.
And her brain was from a Japanese girl.
Okay.
So, they do flashbacks, and they tell more of the backstory where she was taken and the brain was put into this body. And why would the body have to be the same ethnicity as the brain if you don't remember who and what you were? Doesn't really matter. It was just the prototype of the body that company had made. So that was okay. However, if you think about it, it's actually a very poignant message that we're taking away what was yours and putting it in a white body, which is what they took. But if you go back and you watch the anime, yes, Motoko was Japanese, but if you look at her character design, she was a very plain-looking woman in the face. Not emotive, not super Asian ethnic designed.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that the anime face, that design, isn't necessarily emotive of a single race anyway.
Right.
So,
she's tabula rasa, and her brain was tabula rasa.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good enough movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad I spent the money. I don't think there will be a sequel. It seemed like they were setting it up for a sequel.
No, of course.
But not in a way where it looks like they're setting it up. They're setting the first story.
Yeah.
There was no after-credit scene, which I think would have done a disservice. The character of... what was his name? It's like Bakuto, not Bakuto. Bato. The guy who's this big, strong, white-haired with these tiny little optical implants.
Yeah.
He was badass. But they still didn't develop his character quite enough for you to care about him. Yeah. They were close. They were so close.
You're telling the story of an anime in an hour and a half. You're not going to develop anybody.
You couldn't. And the final mistake they made, I don't remember them doing this in the anime, was they kept referencing her ghost as her soul. Therefore going, hey, ghost in the shell, we mean soul.
Hang on a lampshade.
Where's the soul?
Sure.
Yeah, it was a little too obvious. A good popcorn flick. There's some pacing problems in the middle. The denouement with the big spider tank fight scene is pretty cool. Looks good. Ripped straight out of the anime, the way she helps take it out. Worth seeing, but if you're a really big fan of the anime, probably skip it. Spend your money on renting the anime again or buying the DVD.
Yeah.
I could probably go into Iron Fist in a long form, but let's just say it wasn't whitewashed. The character was white in the first place.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm sure.
The actor playing him seemed very confused because the plot never seemed to land on, is he angry or is he at peace? Who does he trust? He trusts you, but he trusts no one. But he's angry, but he's also very calm. But I'm a chaste monk, but I'm going to hook up with the main chick by episode 6. The character of Colleen Wing, who is the samurai-ish friend, but there's some spoilers there. I will let people watch this series, because I think it's worth checking out, especially if you like the other Marvel series.
They've been decent.
It's the worst of the 4 so far. In order, I liked Daredevil, then... what's her name?
Jessica Jones.
I actually like Jessica Jones, then Luke Cage. They had some hits and misses, but they were all pretty good. This came out, and I never felt... Danny Rand should have been a jerk. He should have been pompous and entitled, but he wasn't. He should have been angry and violent, but he wasn't. He could have been more calm. He just never really landed on it. And he trusted people who were obviously bad guys from the beginning. There was one plot twist that was actually kind of well done. I saw it coming, but I could see how most of the audience wouldn't. And then just ultimately not a good payoff. It seemed like a lot of it was just setting things up for the future. Yeah. The one thing they had going for it that they screwed it up was they added Rosario Dawson. She is this thread that weaves in between every show.
Yeah.
So that when Defenders comes together, she's going to be part of that team.
Yeah.
She's going to be their doctor.
Yeah.
She's the most sensible person who says the normal things, who you believe, but they still made her be kind of this, why do I get myself into these situations? She's almost like a Murdoch, like,
yeah.
I'm too old for this S.
Sure.
But worth watching if you want to binge it, but probably better to just, I don't know.
I need to go back and watch Daredevil and Luke Cage.
There was one episode that had a fight scene. The whole episode was a fight scene. And I thought they needed so much more of that. This should have been the show that showed Daredevil how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you think a show that's about a martial artist...
And they forget, there are a couple episodes where there isn't a single punch thrown. And he's the Iron Fist.
Yeah, that's...
And they keep telling you, Iron Fist, Iron Fist,
It's like
Iron
having
Fist.
a Hulk show where he doesn't turn into the Hulk.
Yeah, he's just
He's
calm,
just Dr. Bruce the whole time.
drinking ginseng tea, and going to doctoral conventions.
That sounds good to me, but...
Yeah, going to the psoriasis clinic. Like, that's really awesome. The Hulk doesn't smash so much anymore.
Yeah, Hulk takes notes.
Yeah. Sorry to throw that in there, but for anybody who's wanting to check those out, I'm a big fan of Marvel, and I think that their television shows are some of the best.
Overall.
Defenders is probably going to be pretty good, because the ensemble cast is going to be amazing.
Sure.
Hopefully it's handled a lot more deftly than the most recent Marvel series have been.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll just forget that they all existed and go rewatch Daredevil, which I think was pitch perfect from beginning to end.
I know that's the great thing with having it on Netflix, is you can pick and choose.
Yeah. And there's a lot more coming up. So we have Defenders coming up soon. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy coming up. We've got a Thor movie that even non-Thor lovers are going to really dig.
Yep. Outer Space Thor.
Yeah. So a lot of Marvel properties coming up. We don't even have to worry about the Justice League movie. The trailer is okay.
Yeah. They lost me so long ago that there's no way
I think they lost you at Wonder Woman.
No, they lost me at Man of Steel.
They didn't lose you at Batman v Superman?
No, I haven't even
That's
seen
where they
it.
lost me.
I haven't even seen it.
Man of Steel I liked okay.
No, Man of Steel was so bad, and the trailers for Batman v Superman were so bad. I was like,
it's bad.
No freaking way.
It's bad.
I almost thought about seeing Suicide Squad, and then I'm glad I didn't.
Suicide Squad's good.
There's
one scene.
I want the director's cut, because I think the director's cut will be good.
Yeah.
The theatrical version, I don't...
Let me tell you, there's one scene 3/4 of the way through the movie. All of a sudden, they just stop giving a damn, and they go to a bar.
Yeah.
It is the best 7 minutes.
It's just the characters interacting.
That's what more of the movie should have been.
That's the best part of Avengers. It is just the characters interacting.
Them sitting around, drinking, talking.
Yep.
And hey, directors,
pay attention to that.
If you have good characters, why don't you have them talk to each other?
Yeah, have good
instead
characters.
Of punching things.
Have good characters. Have good characters, Zack Snyder. Have good characters. Have good characters, and then we care about the action. But we don't care about the action if you don't have good characters, Zack Snyder.
Oh, hey, you know who does good characters?
Who?
Joss Whedon.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll do a DC movie soon.
Maybe he can show DC and Zack Snyder how it's done.
Anyway, let's wrap it up for the night, Cyrus.
Yes.
I think we can leave it right there unless you have anything else to add.
No, if you stuck with us, thank you. Big projects ahead of us. I am the forgotten script of Superman 12, the Supermaning.
And I'm that little guy on the big pen.
What's his name?
I have no idea. Joss Whedon, maybe.
Okay. Joss Whedon, Little Bicky. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.
I tooted.